that nut is about 15/16, which means I need to chisel out about so much of that, and it's sticking up about 3/16, almost, not quite. Since I guessed at how much needed to come out, I can guess at about how much is out, right? It's my guess. Okay. This thing fits. If that contacts that, I should be able to pull. See, I've got some play inside this original slot here. There's some play in there, but there's not much play in this one. So if I drop that on there and it goes all the way down, then I know that my mortise is deep enough. And if I have a little wiggle room that way, I got about light 16th, or I mean a heavy 16th. But if I pull this and it pulls this bolt, then I know I've contacted that. See, when I pull the bolt and it pulls the block, I know that they're touching. They're locked in there. And if I can put the block where it needs to go and spin the bolt, then I know that all's well. All's well. I'm going to leave the bolt in there, and I'm going to glue this thing and put me a couple of screws in there. Mainly the glue is what's going to hold it. But if I put about a screw in the corner there, and one there, and one way out there and way over here, put some good flathead screws in there like would have come in this piece to start with. Now I save old screws. I mean, I just do. Every time I get a chance, I grab the old ones and size them and file them away, put them in a drawer. These are 1 1/4 by 8, which will just do this just fine. And they're already pre-rusted. About that, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing like Pre-rusted screws for an antique bed. Now I've got to put a pilot hole. I'm putting a little glue around that nut in there, and that will kind of take up the space and keep it from wiggling around and all that. Truth be known, I should have drilled these holes before I put that glue in there. If that glue squishes out, then I know I've made contact and I'm good. And if the bolt still turns, I'm good. That one's done. Now, if worst comes to worst and they want to put it back like it was, they can pull this block off and go back to a 6-inch bolt, this diameter size, and they can put pins without this block in there. They can still put pins in those holes and they'll fit right into the headboard. Alright, I've got my place marked out. I've got my finish scratched off so the glue will stick to it. I've mortised out what little bit. This nut sticks up about a 1/16 proud of this surface, so I've mortised out about a 1/16 in this retainer block. I'm going to drill my holes in there before I put my glue in to keep from making particle board, basically. And I'm going to go ahead and stick a screw in it into that first hole to kind of position this thing and hold it still. Now see, I have play inside that mortise where that square nut is. There's play in there. It's not much at all, but there's enough. And I've got the bolt threaded in there so the nut is lined up. If there's any kilter, anything out of kilter in that nut, this bolt has got it captured by its threads and it's lined up. Very important to get the end of this block and the end of this rail super flush. You don't want this thing sticking out or the rail doesn't draw up. You don't want its back or it puts too much pressure on the wood inside the rail. You want the pressure of that square nut to be equally on this block and the rail. So this right here is smooth, perfectly flush right there. Mark that and drill that second hole. I should be able to go ahead and just drill all the rest of them. That way I can clear away my chips. I'm going to put a little bit of glue around this nut, and that will kind of help keep it in place. It won't really adhere to it, but it'll just sort of keep it from flopping around and all that. I've taken these beds apart years later after, you know, whoever built them, and you can see glue down around those captured nuts. Like I said, I save old screws, especially flathead screws, especially ones that got a little rust on, because back when I used to do antique repair pretty consistently, antique dealers would they'd about have an allergic reaction if you put a Phillips head screw in their product. They'd put about put a contract out on you if you use a staple gun on their stuff too. I heard about a man that did a lot of antique repair, and just, I guess he was kind of a hoarder. He saved everything that looked like it might be able to be used sometime. And he died. And his kids came in and cleaned out his house. And in the basement where he worked on stuff, they found several 5-gallon buckets full of old screws and bolts and flathead screws and brass and stuff. And they just took it to the scrap yard and sold it for scrap metal. He had separated all the brass from the steel and all the flatheads from the different sizes and everything, and they just sold it for scrap metal. Glued on, nut is captured, threads turned. I've put oil on the end of the bolt where the nut is. I've got my block here, my extension block. The pins line up, and then the headboard goes right here. And so when I go out after this dries a little bit, I'll put this washer on the end of this nut so the back of the headboard is not pressured by that one nut. So I'm not going to take this camera setup to the house in these people's living room and do any filming, but I may take it and just do a snapshot of the completed project once it's all assembled and put it at the end of this video. But this has been just a common thing for people that have antiques. Their bed rails are too short, and this is a way to fix that problem. And the thing is, this is convertible where this block can actually come off. You can put a shorter bolt in there and put the headboard right back on there just like it was. The pins line up. These pins line up with the existing headboard, so nothing has been changed, it's just been adapted, if that makes sense. I don't usually do any finish work, and I certainly don't refinish, but on pieces that I just need a little touch up, just a little piece here and there, I will do this. I'm not a refinisher. I don't like it, and you know, I'm to the point where if I don't like to do something, I pretty much just don't do it. But if I have this thing and it matches and I'm in a pretty good mood, I will go ahead and touch something up. And people don't want to pay a refinisher to do a 15-20 minute job. Yeah, a couple $100. Refinishers get a little proud of their work sometimes. And so to keep them from having to do that, I will touch up little things like this. I did pick a piece of wood that had some stress marks on the back of it. There's actually, it's got some leftover saw marks right there on the back. Kind of adds a little authenticity. I guess I work for antique dealers too long and I start thinking like them. Now you could take this same stain and go over this whole sideboard, this rail, and kind of touch up the little years of use and skin places, and nobody's going to complain about that. It just makes your job look better when you've done all the due diligence to make everything kind of match up. So enough said about that. So that's how it turns out. That's how it ends up to extend that. And it looks against the headboard like so. Well, thanks for choosing to spend your time here with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this program. I'll try to post a new segment each weekend. In addition, if you'd like to read about a stock that I made and then it took a 20-foot free fall, click on the link at the bottom of this page. It's called The Broken Gun. It's a story I wrote a few years ago about my two boys. Sometimes life's hard and things get broken. Now and then we get a chance to fix them. I'm so grateful for the opportunity I had to repair this broken stock. It led to a restoration that I never could have imagined. As always, if you like this video, please click the like button and share this with your friends. Have a great day.